Hello and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. We're here for a preview show and we're looking back at Armagh's 5-point win over Kildare. As always, this podcast is brought to you in association with McKeever's Teamwear, proud suppliers of all Armagh GA merchandise. And as always, the link to the McKeever's website is in the podcast description. I'm delighted to be joined once again by Kiernan, and we're looking back, as I say, to Armagh's 5-point win over Kildare on Saturday evening. Aaron, a good victory, but I suppose we'll start with the weather conditions. Impossible for it. It was never going to be a good game given the conditions, but Armagh got the win and that was the main thing.
Yeah, in fairness, the forecast said that it was going to start raining at 6 o'clock, and to be fair, it did. Both teams warmed up and it was bone dry and there was very little water on the pitch. And then from throw in onwards, it just continued to wreck what probably could have been an even better spectacle. But ultimately, from our own point of view, it was just brilliant to get 2 points on the board and secure our status in Division 1 for another year. Which, I suppose the way things have went this past few weeks, that's definitely not something that would have been a goal that we would have been talking about. But I think realistically, if we sit back and we look at the whole campaign, that it definitely was something that was just number one top priority, and to have done it in the fashion that we've done it and still with 2 games to spare, I think it just goes to show how far the team really have come, even from championship time last year.
And Armagh, as I say, they won by 5 points. They were 4 points up with about 10 minutes left. And I know Thomas Niblock, he sort of paid attention to it in the commentary. He said that Armagh were 3 points up with 10 minutes left against Mayo. And there was a 5-point swing and they ended up getting beat by 2. And I know Kildare probably aren't at Mayo's level, but they're still a Division 1 team. They're still at a good level. And Armagh done well. They held Kildare out and pushed on and ended up winning by 5 then.
They were, I have to say, they were very controlled. Whenever Kildare got it back to 2 points in a bad night like that, there with a big target man of the quality of Daniel Flynn, you always had the fear that, one long ball in here, he could turn you and put it in the back of the net or get a flick in it. But I have to say, it didn't look like that at all. I just thought that Armagh were very composed all across the field, defensively, their use of the ball. At times they were still having the confidence to go long with the foot, but more often than not, it was carrying it through the hands, having plenty of options, plenty of runners, and the knowledge to keep switching from one wing to the other until we created a bit of space for a runner to go through. So, there's no doubt in Kildare aren't at the same level as your Mayos and obviously Kerry that we have coming next week. But at the same token, it goes down to a 2-point game. There's a bit of pressure coming on to you, for the boys that have the composure to see it out and to pick off the scores that they did, draw a couple of frees. It was excellent, and I'd say Geezer and the management team will have been very happy with that aspect of it. And that's the good thing about the league, and I always loved about it, was if you do make mistakes in a game, and they do cost you, it's not too long again until you get the opportunity to rectify them. Where generally, obviously, your championship, particularly this past 2 years with knockout, it's just a long time where you're sitting, waiting, looking at videos, talking about it. You don't get the chance to go out and amend for it. But I would have thought things that went wrong against Mayo, mistakes that were made, use of possession, that we maybe tried to force things. It definitely wasn't that case the other night, and ultimately that's why we were able to see out the win comfortably.
And Armagh changed it up from the Mayo game. They made 5 late additions to the starting lineup, and we'll come on to that in a wee bit, Aaron. But first off, I want to talk about Kiernan Kelly, who broke into the team last year, was a super sub, come on and got goals against, I think it was Donegal in the league, and then in the championship against Antrim and Monaghan. He's earned a starting place this year. He started every game during the league, and he's been superb. On Saturday night was the same. He got in the score sheet again. He scored in every game apart from the Mayo one. He's back tackling, working hard, getting on balls, brilliant around the middle of the field, creating chances, set up a Rian O'Neill goal chance with a big long diagonal ball. He's been a sensational find for Armagh, and he's really found his feet at this level.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I would say that obviously getting the minutes of the game time, and then particularly the goals that he would have got at county level last year, that would have been a good confidence boost for him. But I think more importantly for him, then he obviously carried it into the club, and like he was one of the main reasons why Clonard ultimately went on to win the county title. And that form, without doubt, and the, I suppose, prolonged seasons that he had with the club, and again, more games, he was getting the more confidence, was starting to build them. Week on week now, he's just got better. And I think what the scene at the weekend was, he was getting a ball, he was getting scores this past number of weeks, but it was his work rate, which was really good, really impressive. But the other night, I think he just looked like someone who was really at home now within the team. And it was the amount of ball he then got on, his use of it. He wasn't just looking to play it safe and make sure he retained possession. He was looking for your 40, 50 metre kick passes whenever the opportunities were there. So definitely he's someone who's going to be excuse me, a mainstay of the team for the next 10 years or so. But he's someone who I just think his confidence and the self-belief levels of where he's at now, he's someone who's very much at home with county football now, and it's great to see it. Because what it does is it suppose shows a path for maybe the next crop of young fellas coming through, to just to see a face that they'll know well, that they've maybe all played against, but just goes to show what can happen whenever you get yourself into the right condition and you maximise the talents that you have.
And we've spoke quite often in this podcast this year about the squad depth that Armagh have got now in the team, and the impact that their subs have. But I suppose the other night, I said they made 5 changes. 3 of them were getting their first start of the year. That was James Morgan, Andrew Murnan and Kieran O'Hanlon. And, you know, when we've been talking about the squad depth and the impact off the bench, we haven't been talking about these 3 because they haven't been getting game time. And suddenly they're into the starting team and there's 3 men then missing out. And it must be serious competition, Aaron, when there's boys that, you know, haven't played the first 4 league games. Now suddenly they're starting and all performing well too.
That's the big thing that really stood out to me the other night. You know, whenever they made the changes, like realistically in general, you turn around, you make 4 or 5 changes. You're not always strengthening your team. In the vast majority of cases, you know, you will see weaknesses, but you see them boys coming in, and you're just going, Jesus, it's hard to believe they're not getting on. You know, because we know the quality that they have, but it just goes to show you the competition for places that has now been created within the county, and like, there's no doubt that that's why we are where we are, and we're playing with the level of consistency. Like the big thing we always talk about here, and it's been an issue since, like, I was playing for Armagh since we won our last Ulster back in 08, was consistency. We couldn't put 2 games back to back. You know, maybe the odd time you might have got 2 or 3, but there was just no level where you knew what you were going to get week in, week out. You could turn around and beat anyone one day, and you could lose to a bottom of the table team after that. But now, like, it really doesn't matter who they're coming up against. They're so well drilled, they're so well organised, they're so well focused that everybody knows their role. But ultimately, the biggest thing is the competition for places within that squad. They're going to training. Like, you might have been a time where if you weren't feeling great, or you maybe had a wee bit of a niggle, you might have sat one out. You can't afford that now, because someone else is going to come in and take your place. And the way the boys are, like, so Morgie's a prime example there the other night, getting his first start. Not only his first start, but then being put on Daniel Flynn, who's named as, you know, one of the top 3 or 4 forwards in the country. So that just says to me, well, the management, he must be going well in training, but it's showing the management have faith in him, you know, to throw him in, give him his first start, but then to put him in the best player that Kildare have. That speaks volumes about their faith in him, and obviously how well he's been going in training. And yet, even at that, until the weekend, he still wasn't able to force a starting place. So it's great to see it, and it's a long, long time since we've been able to say that there in Armagh.
And just on James Morgan then, getting in and marking Daniel Flynn. Like, Flynn's been one of the informed players in the country, and it's probably been Flynn, Rian O'Neill and David Clifford talked up as being the 3 best forwards in the country at the minute. And Morgan, we've spoke about James Morgan before, that his club performances last year in the half-back line, he sort of changed. He was an attacking centre-half back, and he was superb. He picked up an all-star. I think he got player of the year as well. But he was back to his man-marking duties on Saturday night and held Daniel Flynn to a point, and I was just double checking before we come on. He done the same in 2017 in Croke Park. He marked Daniel Flynn, who had been flying, and only held him to a point. So big compliments to James Morgan for his first start of the year and doing that to one of the best players in the country at the minute.
Yeah, like it's no easy feat because, like, realistically, Flynn's physical attributes, he's a freak. You know, like, we all know how strong and powerful Morgie is, but even to see him standing up against Flynn, like, he just looks like a mere mortal, like the rest of us. So he does. But no, he done really well. Like, he'll be harsh on himself. Yeah, Flynn kicked one off his left foot from Mark early on. But he snatched a few shots and kicked some wides. And James, you know, I know him obviously really well, and I know how serious he takes those duties that he gets. So the fact that Flynn even got a couple of shots off is something that I know James will want to work on and improve on if he gets the opportunity against Kerry this weekend. But for somebody, like, he'd only got minimal minutes as a sub so far, but to get a full 70 minutes under his belt, to be focused and capable of doing the job he did on Daniel Flynn, that's going to stand to him as we move forward this weekend for the rest of the year. And there'll be bigger tests ahead, probably none more so than what's coming ahead this Sunday. But ultimately, that's why all them boys are there, because these are the games they wanted to play. It's we're the most riding on, and it's where I suppose you're going to be pressurized the most. But that's exactly where everyone wants to be. We want to be as spectators watching them, and they want to be as players.
And I will come back to the defence. I want to spend a bit of time on the Armagh defence, but just before we leave the squad depth topic, I want to talk about Stephen Campbell, because Soupy Campbell would get starting on a lot of other teams in the country. There's no doubt about it. He definitely has the quality to do that, but he can't get starting on the Armagh team. And I just want to talk to you about the mentality it takes for somebody knowing they're going to be an impact sub, because everybody trains so hard. Everybody's there because they want a starting jersey. But Soupy Campbell's best performances this year have come off the bench. He started against Mayo, and it was probably his worst performance. So maybe it is Geezer said, no, right, he's a finisher and not a starter. Where does your mentality lie on that, Aaron? How difficult is it to be an impact sub that you know you're not going to be starting a game, but you still have to, you know, be that tuned in that you're going to change the game once you come on?
It's not easy. I was fortunate enough that I wasn't in that position too often. But my last year with Armagh, I found myself in the position where I was being used as a sub, and it is difficult. It is difficult. There's no point in saying otherwise, and especially for someone like Stefan, who has been the county captain. You know, he was your county captain last year. He's known nothing but been a starter and a star performer for both club and county. In my case, I suppose that's all I can give you as my own reflection. Like, I kept my head down, I kept my mouth shut, and I did everything I could in training to make sure that I was going as well as I could. And was I annoyed and did I play with a chip on my shoulder whenever I come on? Absolutely, I did, because I wasn't happy with being an impact sub. I wasn't happy with 15 or 20 minutes, but I knew that the only way I was going to be a starter was by whatever opportunity I got whenever I was coming on as a sub, that I was going to leave it as hard as possible for management to leave me off the next day. And that's ultimately all you can do. And I think it's fair to say Stefan's doing the exact same thing. Every time he comes off the bench, he's making an impact in every aspect, really. But it's not as point scoring maybe is what's getting most of the talk, you know, because it's making a difference to the scoreboard. But it's the pace and the energy that he's bringing, and you know, he's dropping deep to our own 45, and next thing going past 2 or 3 men, and then the field opens up, and then our runners come, or he has the quality to put a long ball in. So for him, he's doing absolutely everything he can to make sure that he's making an impact whenever he comes on, and ultimately he's doing that to get a starting place. He's not doing that because he's happy to keep doing that there and he just wants to play these 15 or 20 minutes. He's doing that because he wants to put as much pressure on Kieran and the management team to say, I want to start. So he didn't have a great day against Mayo compared to, you know, what we know and what we come to expect from him. But for me, I'll just be far from labeling him as a super sub at this stage. Yes, he's helping to I suppose, turn games for us or head for see us over the line. But I think he'll just keep continuing to do what he does until he sees himself back in the starting team, and then the pressure goes on somebody else who gets the role of what Stefan has at the moment. But again, it just goes back to the quality that we have, the depth that we have, and even the boys who didn't even come on the other day, who were injured or weren't available in the squad. As the ground hardens and we get nearer the championship, I think the form and the competition within the squad is just going to go even further than what it is at present.
Well, I'm just wondering, do you think is that a conversation that Kieran McGeeney and Stephen Campbell have? Because I'm sure Geezer can't sit down all 15 boys that aren't starting and explain, why they're not starting, that they're going to be impact subs, or, do you think has that conversation happened with Stephen that, no matter what happens here, you're going to be an impact sub, this is your role for this team this year? Or is it just week by week, whatever happening in training, and if he's flying, if he's in good form, then he'll be starting?
I would say knowing Geezer and suppose how meticulous and how much thought they put into it, there's definitely conversations happening, and I have no doubt about it. Like, you know where you stand in his thinking, but do I think he's been told you're just going to be an impact sub for the whole year? I don't think so, because I think that's a harsh thing to say to anybody, because then no matter what you do, you're never going to be a starter if that's someone thinking. So I'd say conversations happened where he said, you're giving me more impact off the bench now than what you are whenever I'm starting. It's up to you to change my mind in that. And the only way you can do that is by what's happening on the field. Maybe that's why he did then get the start against Mayo, and maybe it just didn't go according to plan. But that's not to say that it's just going to go back into a box of, okay, I'm going to pencil you that you're just going to be an impact sub from here on. I think everybody has to have the opportunity that if you're going well enough, that you have to have the potential or the opportunity to be a starter. And at the moment, it's not happening for Stefan. But are we getting a positive impact of him? Yes. But I would think that would be the same across the board. You're looking at your Conor Turbot's, Oisin O'Neill's, to come back into the mix as well here too. They could end up pushing for similar roles to what Stefan has. Stefan can end up in the team. I think it'll just be the same across the board. That's where everyone stands. It's what you do on the field will determine whether you're starting or not. And I think just at the moment, that's where Stefan's finding himself, and it's hard not to. It'd be hard to argue with Geezer anyway. He's getting what he wants from Stefan, and ultimately the points on the board that we have would say that not only Stefan is performing, the rest of the group are also.
And as I said, I want to talk about the defence, and in terms of performances, Armagh's defence has been incredible so far during the league. And I'm just sort of picking up on something Marty Clark said in co-commentary on Saturday night. He described Armagh as the best defence in Ireland at the minute, and the fact that it's such a collective effort. They're getting men behind the ball, but as we know, it's not stationary. They're breaking out then at pace once they do turn the ball over. But we talked about Morgan and his impact, Mark and Flynn. There was no goals conceded, no shots on goal for Kildare, and that's been the case since the Dublin game. Dublin got I suppose you could describe it as a lucky goal. It wasn't a clear-cut goal chance. That was the only goal Armagh have conceded in 5 games now. So massive credit to their defence, and it was probably a stick to beat Armagh with in years gone by. That their Division 1 forward line, but their defence was maybe there was question marks over it, but they've certainly answered those questions now, Aaron.
Absolutely, and it's not in years gone by. It was last year. That was an issue that we had last year. Think of the Michael Langan goal where he ran straight through the middle of the fence in the league game, put the ball in the back of the net. Think of Darren Hughes, 1-2 straight through the middle of the fence in the championship game, 4 goals conceded in one half. Like, it can't be underestimated. Like, we're playing Division 1, and this isn't a mini Division 1 like it was last year. This is against all the teams. Now, granted, this is Monday. We play Kerry on Sunday. We'll not lose the run if it's too much. But in general terms, the whole thing is Kerry, where they fell down last year. If they don't concede any goals, they'll win games. They've gone the length of the country to take Paddy Tally down to be a coach. And everyone's talking about how well they're now going and how well they're defensively set up. But Kerry have scored 7 goals. Armagh have scored 7 goals, and both teams have only conceded 1 to date. So all the talk again nationwide. I get what you're saying. What Marty said. Very few people are probably picking up on that, other than Marty saying that the other day. All the talk is about how well Kerry are going, the different sort of defensive formations that they have, or how more clued in or astute they are. But Armagh absolutely have made massive strides in that there. Like, you don't see us as porous. You don't see boys getting caught in one-on-one situations, and you absolutely don't see anyone coming steaming straight through the middle of our defence, not either being tracked or not being stopped. Like, if you think of just early on against Tyrone, where they had runners particularly breaking through our 45, heading straight towards the edge of the D, they were constantly being met, physical contact, turned back, and as soon as they turned back, second and third and fourth men in, and we just kept forcing them back out the field. So for me, that's a massive improvement. And the fact that we're still scoring at the other end, our points tally has probably dipped a wee bit compared to where they'd like to be. But for us to be going in Division 1 and so defensively sound, again, it's a massive improvement, and it's again one of the main reasons why we are where we are. To keep everyone to 1 goal to date has been excellent. And it's organisation, and it's obviously huge work that's been done in training. But it's I suppose whenever you're at the games, you can see that the players aren't. Probably what was happening too much, and that's why someone was running through the middle, is we were so obsessed with our own man that we weren't wondering where's the danger actually coming from. And there was too many times where you would be standing nearly, with your hands on your own man, and someone maybe going straight over your shoulder heading through for goal. A defender's job, number one, is to stop your own man. But if he's out of the game, well, then it's not like, okay, my job's done, I'm going to take a break here. It's who needs help? Where's the danger? Can I, even by getting myself into a position, can I maybe change the mentality or mindset of our opponents? And at the minute, the Armagh players are doing that really well. Like, if the ball's on the opposite side of the field, or wing half backs, or cutting across, we're narrowing the opportunities for our opponents. And I think as a collective, that has been a massive improvement from we were even only 12 months ago.
And I don't want to get into previewing the Kerry game because we'll leave that for Thursday, but this is going to be the big test. Like, the big test for their defence is going to be stopping David Clifford, stopping Sean O'Shea, stopping probably the best forward in the country in David Clifford, and maybe him and Rain will go up against each other for that title at the weekend. But this is the big test for Armagh now, is how they're going to stop this Kerry forward line from scoring goals.
There's no doubt about it. Like, are they going to get a tougher test all year in terms of 6 forwards is going to come up against them? No, but isn't that what we're here for? Like, this is what you want to play county football for. This is what attracts young people. This is what attracts supporters. Like, the excitement, I suppose, I have this week, that the fact that we've got Kerry now coming to Armagh, this is what we've been craving for years. So are you going to be up against it? Are they going to be challenged? Are they going to have a minute to switch off and take a breather? No. But this is what it's all about. Like, it's as good as, I suppose, it's as big nearly as any championship game that we've had in recent times, to get the opportunity to pit a Kerry team that are going really well, who are hell bent on winning everything before them. And we're getting a shot at them now in the athletic grounds. Our Division 1 status is secure. I would like to see us just having a good cut off them and seeing maybe how defensively sound they are as well this week, see what problems we can pose them. So I still see us being very defensively sound, and I don't think that we're going to go gung-ho and leave them exposed. I still think we'll, like Kieran McKeever, he'll be very much focused on whoever has their own roles and, helping each other, seeing danger. But I think that we still have plenty of pace and plenty of drive to come out of our defence, that I don't want us to just sit and just continuously mind the house this weekend. I think that we have enough legs that we can start putting the Kerry boys going another direction as well. But like I said, we'll let you get into that one deeply later on in the week.
And just we'll finish up on the defence now, Jan, but we'll have to talk about Ethan Raverty. And I think last week I had Steve McDonald on the podcast, and we sort of described it as an experiment. I don't think that's an experiment anymore. I think this is the way Armagh are going to go. Ethan looks to be the number 1 keeper now at the minute. we know what he's capable of out the field. Football wise, we've seen it before. He's played midfield, half forward, full forward for Armagh. He has some slight experience in the goals, but he hasn't had a shot to save yet in the 2 games. And we said massive credit to the defence. That's the main reason. But keepers nowadays don't seem to have to be unbelievable shot stoppers. As long as you have a good kick out on a comfortable ball player, you're going to be a good enough keeper. And Ethan Rafferty definitely has those 2 boxes ticked.
He does, and he's a physical presence as well. Like, one of the most impressive things was the long high ball played into Daniel Flynn in the first half, and there was obviously really good communication between himself and James Morgan, because instead of James trying to wrestle with Daniel Flynn, he just moves back into the goal lane, and Ethan comes off his lane and clears the ball and gets a bit of Flynn at the same time. So for something that happened very quickly, it seemed like it was organised to perfection between the 2 boys. So that showed a bit of confidence in both James knowing what he was doing, but Ethan having the confidence to come off his lane and not be afraid to come and challenge. So like, he has that physical presence, he has the footballing ability in terms of if he's coming out in possession, which a lot of teams like their goalkeepers to be able to do now, and in terms of he has a long kick and he has the ability to pick out the short ones. There was a few the other night that maybe boys ended up under pressure, but it's only his 2nd game at it. And then we have to allow for weather conditions. Like, your standing foot as you're going up to hit it, it wouldn't be as secure as normal. Even how your foot would strike the ball between the wind and the rain. And then you're probably looking to chip it that it's nearly going into someone's chest, where as the weeks go on now, like, you have no problem in just hitting space and having a runner go on to it and attacking on up the field. So in terms of the conditions that he could be trying to adapt to as a goalkeeper, to go short, now is as difficult as Ethan's going to get it so far this year. So he's done really well. His defence have been good in terms of not putting him in a one-on-one situation. But he will get tested and Kerry no more so than anyone, like a high press. And I suppose this weekend will be another step up from him in that regard. But you would have to say so far so good. Maybe the what he has overplaying at the moment would be maybe the physical thing, in terms of just his stature, in terms of maybe high ball that might be coming in, because playing obviously is very good at the quick kick outs and very comfortable in possession also. But I would say maybe just the physical stature of Ethan might be what management is looking to give him his opportunity over at the moment, and so far so good.
And I think Ethan, like the defence, he's definitely going to get tested on Sunday against Kerry. So we'll see how he does in that. Or now that Armagh are safe, the Division 1 secured, as we said, with 2 games left. That's target number 1 ticked off. Where do they go from here now? Are Armagh are they sitting down this week saying, right, let's go, let's push on and get to a National League final? Or are they going to say, we're secured now, let's take our foot off the gas, but let's put all our attention to the Championship? It's a big game against Donegal 3 weeks after the last round of the league. It's hard to know what the right thing to do is, because if Armagh do get that extra game and go to the league final and end up getting beat by Donegal, maybe they had enough time to prepare or whatever it is. But as a player, where do you see their mentality at? Is it keep winning, keep the confidence going, get to a league final, or are you sort of targeting that Championship game now instead?
Me personally, I would be keep going, keep winning. Like, we don't have enough silverware within our county to be able to start picking and choosing. And there's just nothing that, I suppose, brings a group together, or there's nothing that builds self-belief like winning games. Picking up trophies, playing in big matches. And for me, my mindset this week would be the opportunity to go and play against Kerry is unbelievable. It comes around way too rare for my liking. I never played against them in the league. I missed 2 league games in the 11. We played them twice in 11 years, and I missed both of them. So it's a massive opportunity for us this weekend where we have nothing to lose. It's a home game for us. I'd be going all out for them. But I think what's more important is, to me, the Donegal game, the last game, it could be a total dead duck. It depends now on what happens then. They might need a win and they might go for it and might have to show their hand. But if they get a win this weekend and they know they're safe, it's a dead duck. So for me, it's too long then to be, suppose, like with him, that game's over, you still have another 3 weeks. So if we're not really going out for it and, we're not giving everything and we're just happy where we're sitting at the moment, it's whatever it is now. It could be 6 weeks to the championship. You're sitting still for too long. There's momentum there. There's too much competition within our squad. There's too many boys looking starting places. We're playing too well. And we just don't have enough silverware as a county to be relaxing and starting to ease off here. I would be very much like, if we get an injury and someone gets hurt, so be it. That's just a part of life. Next man up. One man's loss is another man's opportunity. And for me, I would say, yes, have a go with Kerry this weekend. If you want to change things up again against Donegal, I wouldn't be changing them up massively. I'd give a few more boys an opportunity. But I'd be looking to get as much football as I can, get as many wins under our belt, so that by the time we come championship, which is the business end, we're absolutely flying and we've had a successful league campaign. If it means getting the league final and you don't win it, it wouldn't bother me. It was another big day out, another opportunity to develop and learn as a squad. And for me personally, as a player, that's always what I wanted.
Well, we're looking forward to 2 big games coming up for Armagh, and then obviously into the championship. And as you can tell, me and Aaron can't really hide our excitement for this Kerry game. It's a week away, but it's all we can sort of talk about at the minute. So we'll be back on Thursday's podcast, and we'll have another special guest on to discuss that Kerry game and everything happening coming up this weekend. As usual, we'll be back on Thursday's show. And if you want to listen to us on Spotify, make sure to follow us. On YouTube as well. Make sure to subscribe to us and follow us on all our social media pages. Aaron, thanks very much for coming on and giving us your thoughts on Armagh's win over Kildare, and hopefully another win coming up next weekend.
Cheers, Sean. Anytime.